Today, in fact, we have the presence of a very distinguished leader who plays a pivotal role in shaping the future of India's media and entertainment landscape. The Secretary of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, Shri Sanjay Jaju. In fact, he is amongst us and he's about to deliver a special address on the remarkable growth story of the AVGC sector in India, as well as its promise for the future. So we're about to deep dive into these key insights into the government's vision and efforts to drive innovation and success in this very dynamic field. Let me also take a minute to introduce Shri Sanjay Jaju, who's a 1992 batch Indian Administrative Service Officer who assumed the role of Secretary, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting in February 2024. He's also held significant positions in the Ministry of Defense, where he also advanced the Make in India initiative and many, many more initiatives as well. So it is indeed our absolute delight and honor to have the august presence of Shri Sanjay Jaju with us to deliver a special address, and I believe it's the right time in order to, as we come together to examine the AVGC growth story of India. Ladies and gentlemen, Shri Sanjay Jaju, thank you very much, sir, for joining us this afternoon. Without any delay, if I could please invite you on stage to deliver your address to the august gathering. A special address coming your way, ladies and gentlemen. A special round of applause. Please help me welcome none other than Shri Sanjay Jaju.
Namaskar. Good afternoon. 3 p.m. is a fairly tough time for people to be around, but I know you have come in from some distance, and I can see that the median age looks like 30. So effectively, I think you guys are definitely going to keep your stress levels down, and a bit of what you call post-lunch traumas will be lesser. Great. A very good afternoon, friends, and all the industry leaders, young innovators, young creators. While I think you are all here for the Indian Gaming Convention, I would like to kind of take this whole conversation a little wider and talk about the entire segment of AVGC, and we also call it AVGC XR. So it kind of sums up what apparently you coined it, right, some years back, some decades back. So we're going to talk about this, which is actually pivotal for the future of our economy. And not just for the future of our economy, it's also a huge reflection on our cultural heritage. Let me take a quote from Honorable Prime Minister. He has mentioned that, I quote, AVGC sector can provide immense employment opportunities to the youth who can serve the global market. This is from one of his quotes. And if I borrow it from the Independence Day speech, the Honorable Prime Minister from the ramparts of Red Fort mentioned that हमें हमारे देश में world-class gamers, world-class animators. He talked about create in India. He talked about design in India. And in the recent Man Ki Baat episode, which happened last Sunday of the last month, he talked about the Create in India Challenge, Season 1, which has been recently launched. And there also he talked about the huge potential content creation has, not just for our country, but also in terms of its outreach towards the world at large. So friends, this entire vision actually, brings out one collective goal, that we want to position India as a global leader in content creation, innovation, and importantly, intellectual property. Now, let's just look back. See, we are one of the oldest civilizations in the world, but we also have to be mindful of the fact that we are a vibrant tapestry of cultures, languages, traditions. And this rich cultural heritage has been a treasure trove of not just stories, art forms, but actually a whole lot of experiences that have been shared with the world and are kind of waiting to be shared with the world. And our country is a harmonious blend of all these languages, and it is this diversity which is going to be our key strength when it comes to exploiting the entire AVGCR segment, including the games. Because it is this segment which provides us a very powerful tool to not just showcase our cultural heritage, but also package it in through the forms of entertainment, which can then connect with the global audience. And again, to take a quote from what Walt Disney once said, he said that animation can explain whatever the mind of man can conceive effectively, right? So it actually allows us to bridge this gap between our ancient cultural heritage and at the same time it allows us to create experiences that can entertain, that can educate, and now, as everybody says, it can even inspire. So it's been a huge journey that we are embarking upon, and this great, vibrant and dynamic industry that we have is now at the cusp of what one can say a huge vertical leapfrog, in my understanding. And while we have been doing a lot of outsourced work coming in from the West, there has been a real shift and transition happening now, with many of you starting to play the role of content creators and the intellectual property of our country going wide and across. And we have many examples. I mean, we have examples of international productions like Avatar, The Lion King, The Jungle Book, Ghatotkacha. All this actually flows in again from our mythology, from Indian mythology, but they have gained international recognition. And many of them actually have been awarded and rewarded in multiple international forums, and that also indicates our understanding that this segment is one of our very important sunrise segments if one look at the entire industrial landscape. Coming to the gaming sector, many of you are interested in that. I just keep saying that, we have been making a lot of efforts to ensure that the segment is mainstreamed. It's not used in a pejorative sense or kind of bring dignity to this entire segment, because this segment is is actually the fastest growing segment if you look at the entire AVGC pool. And it has been witnessing explosive growth. From being limited to PCs and console games in the early 2000s, now mobile gaming has become the mainstay. And in our country alone, we have more than 500 million gamers, 50 crore gamers. I think this itself is huge. And when we have so much of consumption, we also have huge possibilities to lead in the digital content creation. I'm told Ludo King, which is a mobile adaptation of the classic board game, has achieved over 500 million downloads globally. That's huge. At the same time, there are traditional Indian games in the international. I'm told a game called Raji, an ancient epic, which is an action-adventure game which has also received international accolades for its beautiful art style and rich storytelling, and it is also featured in various international shows and won international acclaim. Friends, as we delve deeper into this segment, into the AVGC segment, it is essential to recognize the current economic impact which this segment has, and also look at what it holds for us in the future. AVGC, in the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, we look at the entire segment of media and entertainment, and AVGC XR is almost 1/4 now. Huge chunk of the media and entertainment space is currently in the AVGC XR segment. And we expect this segment to grow and become huge, right? From currently a size of 3 billion, we expect this to become 10 times in the next 4 to 5 years and become close to about $30 billion industry, and currently close to about 3 lakh professionals involved. And we expect this segment to, create employment opportunities, direct employment opportunities for more than 20 lakh professionals in the next 5 to 7 years. And there are multiple growth drivers as when this segment is being viewed from a fairly economic perspective. The most important one would always be technological advancements, because the adoption of the cutting-edge technology is essential, especially in a segment like this. And I think that's where we'll possibly, in terms of our capacity to leapfrog and adopt, especially with the young population of innovators and creators, I think we have huge potential. At the same time, affordable internet and smartphone penetration in our country. Now we have close to about 100 crore smartphones in the country. I mean, that's a huge number. And demographic advantage, as I was mentioning, 63% of our population is aged between 15 and 64 years, the age where the consumption is huge, not just from consumption perspective, but even from the perspective of production. At the same time, we also can see that there is a huge demand flowing in from various platforms, including OTTs, for content. Now, what we in the government are looking at, and that's why I'm here, to collaborate with all of you, to collaborate with the industry, create enabling conditions so that this industry grows. This industry not just grows in terms of its numbers, but at the same time, in terms of the content, create some iconic global brands. IPs that can kind of resonate globally. That's the whole idea. In terms of gaming, we also look at India to be positioned as a hub for global gaming and a preferred destination for global gaming developers and publishers. And I'm sure that with a whole range of incentives for startups and dedicated gaming parks, etc., there's a huge possibility for bringing in significant investment in this segment. Esports is also gaining traction in our country at a very rapid pace. And I think that is where there's a huge potential for us to cultivate a new generation of gamers and creators in this particular segment. While these are great opportunities, as it happens in any segment, there are a lot of challenges as well. We have challenges of skills, we have challenges of technologies, and we have challenges in terms of the broad ecosystem that are required for the development of any industrial segment. And I'm very happy to tell you that you might have heard that recently the Union government has announced that a center of excellence called as Indian Institute of Creative Technologies is going to be set up in Mumbai as a hub, but multiple spokes of it will also be created across the state. And it will be set up on the lines of what you call them as IITs or IIMs currently for technology and management. For all these creative technologies, this is going to be kind of an apex institution, which will not just help address the skill gaps, but will also help us spawn new companies, provide space for incubating new companies, and that's how open the door for creating a veritable supply chain of companies that thrive in this particular segment. Not just this, we are also looking at, coming up with a mission, a Create in India mission, which can help us take this entire effort through financial and non-financial support that might be required for the growth of this particular segment. And I'm sure many of you will look at this entire thing with excitement and, come up with your own discoveries and solutions. Besides this, many of you would have heard that we have already announced that we are going to have waves the World Audiovisual and Entertainment Summit in India in February 2025. While you have multiple conferences happening, some happening around, say, gaming, some for films, some for broadcasting, this is the first time in the world that this entire segment is being looked in its entirety. We're looking at broadcasting and the traditional radio, infotainment, etc. as one part. The new AVGC XR part, of which all of you are a part, as the second pillar. Films, the traditional films and etc. And the fourth, the new media, the OTTs and the social media, etc. But the confluence of all these four pillars together is what Waves is all about. It will be a huge opportunity for all of you to, not just create B2B opportunities, because that's effectively the target of the agenda. But at the same time, it also will allow you opportunities to, explore your dimensions and ties with the policymakers, come face to face and, tell your problems, tell your predicaments, and seek solutions from people like us if there are some problems or pain points which needs to be addressed. As a prelude to the World Audiovisual and Entertainment Summit, as I was mentioning in the beginning, we have also launched Create in India Challenge Season 1. And IMI is also part of it. And many of you have possibly heard of it, that we have launched these challenges across the entire spectrum of media and entertainment. Many of them even include gaming, etc. And all these challenges have been created to take this entire segment to the grassroots. Create opportunities for gamers, animators, reel makers from small towns, kasbas to participate, show their skill sets, and acquire center stage. That's the whole idea. And I'm sure many of you would be aware of it and would look at both Waves as well as Create in India Challenge Season 1. All those who, all the finalists of Create in India Challenge which eventually converge at Waves and then will possibly gain international recognition. And we have also said that it's not just about identifying them, but also taking them up the value chain. Once we identify them, if you're an innovator, then possibly allow you to create a company. If you're a company, then make your company bigger, and then try and help you go up the value chain. And I'm sure that many of you will make use of the opportunities that Waves and Create in India Challenge Season 1 has. So friends, it's important that we now become the net content creator from India, a nation that obviously not just takes in the content from the world, but with our size, with our demographics, we are able to become the net content creator. And that's a dream that we have. So on behalf of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, I'll like to urge all of you, all the stakeholders like large corporations, to small-time innovators, to educational institutions, to people like us, it's a time for us to come together and collaborate. And we'll all require this as a collective effort. Our individual efforts will take us some steps up, but if we have to achieve this larger outcome, we'll all have to march together. Hitopadesh actually mentions that Udyamain hi siddhyanti karyanayana manorathe, which actually means that any target is achieved through diligence and hard work, not by mere wishes. So wishful thinking may not alone be enough. We have to create concrete steps. We have to make concrete efforts if we have to achieve this large outcome of bringing in more and more people into this segment and making this segment as the economic driver of our country. So my gratitude to all of you for allowing me this opportunity to present my from government viewpoint here. And I'm sure that we all will march together in this huge enterprise of making India the content hub of the world. Thank you. Jai Hind.